before we get started, if you want to see another Ask Mercer and Mogilevsky and you have questions for us, send them in, put them in the comments, send it to libertyfilm.org@gmail.com. We need questions in order to do a show, and we don't have any questions right now, so send those in. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, this is some good stuff.
Man, this is my favorite podcast.
I got new earbuds for Christmas. Not these. And not for music, for podcasts.
This time on the Mercer and Mogilevsky Show. Welcome back to the show, guys. Today we're going to be talking about podcasts. Now, podcasts are like, think of radio, like a radio show you'd have on the radio. Instead, you can just put it on your computer or your iPod and you can have it around you, just like a radio show that you don't need, radio for.
or a YouTube video that you don't have to sit at your computer watching our not so beautiful faces.
Exactly. So today we're going to be talking about some of our favorite podcasts. Mercer, get us started off.
Well, I think we're just going to start with a podcast that we both share and enjoy, The Inner Tube.
Yeah.
It's Josh Taylor, Kevin McCreary, two funny guys, funny YouTubers talking about YouTube and content creation. So it's kind of in a little niche of ours. Podcasters fight about how to pronounce that word. It's niche if you're Canadian, for sure. And so they've got all kinds of inside jokes. They relate good stories and information. They're encouraging, and so that's always fun to listen to.
And interestingly enough, we actually got a shout out on this said podcast. Now, mine and Caleb, the editor of the show, if you didn't know, he works very hard. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
We got a name shout out, but I did when I met Josh. Okay, I told Josh about Mercer. And he listed Mercer as part of the friend group. So Mercer is known as the friend group now. And so we were actually shouted out. That's pretty cool.
And because we're homeschooled, of course, I am the only friend that Isaac has.
Very true. And so that's one of our podcasts. Another podcast we like to listen to is The Tom Woods Show.
Yep.
Tom Woods is a historian by trade, I would say, but he also has many books on economics, and I would say, and as he claims himself, he's like a self-made economist, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like he didn't go to school for it, but he's very good and all that, and he talks a lot about politics, more of the libertarian branch of politics, for sure.
He's definitely he was a self-described libertarian. He's a big libertarian.
Yeah.
Is his what I never figured out is his show daily? Because it doesn't seem to be an episode every single day. But it's almost daily.
It used to be daily.
So
kind of,
it's a show that has so many episodes you probably don't listen to all of them.
Very true.
But you listen to the stuff you like, and it's really good.
It's good. And a little branch off from that, him and
Bob Murphy.
Bob Murphy have come together and made a show. Get this, it's called Contra Krugman. Now, if you are in the battle of Keynesian economics versus Austrian economics, you are fangirling over this podcast because it's a great analysis of,
unless you're on the Keynesian side, and then you're not fangirling at all.
Yeah, but Krugman is a self-proclaimed Keynesian economist.
Columnist in the New York Times,
absolutely.
for those of you who don't know what that is.
So, Tom and
Bob,
Tom and Bob, they take apart his columns.
Oh, and it is their sarcasm level. It takes a couple episodes to figure it all out, but they are funny.
Oh, yeah,
it is good. So if you ever want some hilarious libertarian economics, you can check out Contra Krugman.
Absolutely. Now, Mercer, what is some of the ones that you listen to that I don't?
I listen to a couple of interesting podcasts. The 538 Politics podcast. They've hinted that they might actually shut it down after the inauguration, which would be I'm very disappointed. But 538 is a data website. They do the best polling and data analysis in the U.S. And so they've got a great podcast. They got some good personalities on there who make lots of good jokes, and so and some really good insight. They got the U.S. election not right. They thought Hillary Clinton would win, but they thought she would win by less of a margin than everybody else. So that's a good thing. And then I also listen to Canada Land. There is I don't maybe say a dearth or a lack of Canadian-centered good media and podcasts in the world. A lot of stuff tends to be either American-made for Americans or internationally made. Even in Canada, we make international stuff where it's kind of like appealing to Canadians and Americans. But Canadaland is strictly Canadian, as the name implies. So they run a few different shows done by Jesse Brown, most of them. And it's good media, good criticizes the media quite a bit. So it's good podcast.
Absolutely. One of the podcasts that I've been getting into as the election has taken place is the Ben Shapiro podcast. Now, Ben Shapiro is he's a Jewish lawyer, okay, and he went to Stanford at the age of 16. Okay, so he's a self-acclaimed genius, but I think we can all recognize that he's pretty much a genius. So it's a one-man show, and he'll diagnose the problems of American politics, and it's really entertaining. I really like it. It's surprising because oftentimes you don't find one person by themselves very entertaining. Oftentimes you need more people, to get one person. He finds a way to really keep it engaging and really,
did he leave? He left Breitbart after a whole fiasco.
He did after what is it, Michelle Fields? Yeah, that whole debacle. If you know anything about that.
How does he make his money now that he's independent?
Now, this is a little infomercial for Ben Shapiro. You can sign up at the Ben Shapiro Show, .com or something. We're not giving him a plug, but we'll probably link to him.
Because he does that as a job.
Yeah.
And lots of these podcasters do stuff as a hobby once they make money elsewhere, usually.
But it is interesting because he is a lawyer. He is training to be a lawyer, and he's not a lawyer. He could be probably making a lot more money, but you never know. So that's a good sign, at least for me. Another podcast, which is kind of if you know anything about the homeschooling kind of the homeschooling cult. I was going to say that sarcastically, but then the homeschooling
it's a
niche.
Cult. The homeschooling niche. Let's admit it. It's a cult.
The homeschooling niche. You might know Tim Hawkins because he's had some very popular videos go across the internet on making fun of homeschoolers and stuff like that. Well, he has a podcast. It's called Potty Break. Now, it's kind of delinquent, but it also is pretty funny. Very clean. He's a Christian.
You wouldn't think that from that title.
You wouldn't think it, but yeah, he's a Christian, and he'll have parts of his crew that they travel and all this kind of thing. It's very entertaining.
I've only listened to a couple. It was very weird but funny.
Yeah. So if you want to laugh, if you want a little weird podcast, there you go.
And one more thing, have you listened to? You probably haven't listened to any episodes of the Aux Cable at all, or no?
No.
Okay, so they're kind of they're people in the inner circle, which is the thing that the inner tube created when it got big.
Oh, it just got confusing.
And and so they kind of it's half a parody podcast of the inner tube.
Okay.
So it's not quite the inner tube yet, but they're getting. I appreciate it as a podcast. It launches on Wednesday, which no other podcasts launch on that day. Wednesday. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
I look forward to a Wednesday special from them.
Okay, well that's very cool that we have the Aux Cable creators are they're not too far up above us at this point.
No.
So it's cool.
We're chasing you.
We're chasing the Aux Cable. So yeah, if you guys like to check out any of these podcasts, we might link to some in the description, some of the ones we like.
And we're avid podcast listeners. So if you have a podcast that you like, suggest it.
Yes,
we might be interested.
Put it in the comments, please, because if there's a podcast that you go to, weekly or daily, we'd really like to know about it. Then we can maybe even talk about it on the show.
Yep.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to like and comment, tell us your thoughts, and if you'd like to subscribe, it would really help us out. Thanks so much, guys.